Okay, recording is on. So from this point forward, if you have to disconnect or you've got computer problems, just know that this session will get posted on the website. So let me start by sharing my screen. And what I mean by that, I hope you guys have seen that even as of yesterday, I sent you guys an email about updates to our website. So, and again, feel free to chime in with any questions if you like, or just watch live and enjoy the show. So yeah, yesterday, if I scroll down here, right here, under week 1, I added the video of the meeting that we had earlier this week. Also, I had my little written things that you guys had asked me, and I addressed those in the email. So I shared the email I got from Mr. Braun about lockers. Yaniv, I understand, was able to get into the school and get his IA, or at least he didn't indicate otherwise. And the other thing that was asked of me this week was to look at those UML diagrams with NetBeans. So I made a video on how to do that and just some options for doing that, and that's the link right here. Okay, and the video of what I'm recording right now will be active as a link right here, right after this meeting today. Okay, so I also put a few other things up here as well. The IA shared folder, if you click this is the folder of all the IAs that I previously shared with you guys that you can look through. I think there's 50 of them. So 50 different example IAs you guys can look through. And as of today, I've added this folder to the top of this as well, the Mr. Walk's advice folder, which I also have connected to right on my desktop here as well. So I'll go through that in a second. But that's brand new as of this morning. And what it is, it's just going to be any of the notes that I'm going to take during this class today. I'm going to put right in there for you guys if you want to look at them. So it's a Word document that has the plan and some other stuff, which we'll get to in a second. All the IA videos, if you want to start thinking about the video, I've connected to the playlist here. So this is the YouTube playlist of all the sample IA videos dating all the way back to 2014. So again, there's about 50 of them on here, 49, but all the way up to the ones from last year. You can look at those and get a feel for those. You can see someone asked me how long should they be? Well, just scrolling through this list, you can see certainly some of them went longer, 12 minutes, but on average, they're about 3 or 4 minutes, right? Some are 5, 2. I think the shortest one on here is about 30 seconds. Somewhere on here. Anywho, so those are there for you guys to look at as well. And then this is the systems fundamental stuff. I don't think that's something you guys should be worried about, as I said. What you guys should be focusing on is your IA right now. But I just want to put those links up there for now for you guys. Okay, so that's the dealio. Anything I do right now will be recorded, and these Word documents I'm about to open are in that folder that I was just showing you. And again, I'll remind you that at the end. Okay, so this is my plan document for you guys, right? So what is the plan for the IA? So it's really 4 parts, right? Complete a working program, which to me sounded like where most of you were when I talked to you guys earlier this week. Completing the written work, which a lot of you realize that's the next big thing on your to-do plate. Then make a video and then hand everything in, okay? So as far as doing the program, you guys have on our website, you have the GitHub page that has our class example that we've been working on, right? So if I go to GitHub and I go to the Computer Science 42 SIB GitHub project, you can certainly download it right here and have all of it. But you can also dig into the source files, testing. There was that sample IA that you guys could work off of. So there was the big fancy meme database that you guys problem solve with me that has lots of different classes and even things like that, that it connects to, user interfaces that it connects to. Or there's the really simple version, right? The simple version is just one user interface made using the NetBeans designer to speed up the timeline. And all the code is in here, although it does certainly connect to our linked list class and our search and sort class. But again, those are right in the example, so they're right there. And it's right there for you. This is obviously the code that NetBeans wrote, and then all the code that I used just to make it work. Okay, so that would be that section there, just getting a program working. So use my examples if you need it to build a working program, right? I know you guys kind of knew that already. Here's another way to look at it. 42 SIB. And as I'm waiting for this to load, in the UML diagram I did, video I did yesterday, it had, I think I used this version of Apache NetBeans, but I also tested the same stuff in version 8 of NetBeans, and it works fine there. I think it's actually built for version 8 if you wanted to use that UML diagram system. Okay, so slowly waiting for this to open. So that simple version. I'm just going to run that. Okay, well, that's running. The written section is what I want to spend the majority of our time with today in this lesson, like to go through what these templates are I have for you guys and how they're going to be created. You'll notice here it says that when you're done your written sections, it's a good idea to save them as a PDF file, okay, with the same name as the template. Oh, here's that mini IA. You can enter a name, okay, enter another name. Okay, and you can search. Highlights the ones that it found. You can save it. It doesn't ask for a file name, it just saves it. And then theoretically, when it runs the next time, hopefully this works. Me, don't have the COVIDs, just strong coffee. And I open it, there it is again, and I can sort it. That's a really simple IA. We also have the meme database, which is a much fancier version, but that is available for you guys right on the website if you want it, if you're struggling with the written part, or email me, okay? The video, don't really want to focus too much on the video today. That could be something for next week. But basically, again, we've talked about it, use any type of screen recording software. Screencast-O-Matic is great. OBS is great. Record your voice is a good idea. It's not required. Show how the product works. That's what the video is marked on. But also show off your code. Keep it to under 5 minutes is my recommendation. We talked a little bit about that last time. Okay, and then there's a hand-in section. We'll get to that later. So then the other thing is in that folder, I added a folder of written templates for the planning, design, development, and evaluation. These are the written sections you need to do. What I've done in each of those, one up here, is just giving you a place where you could type it in if you want. Now, you don't have to use this template. What I've also included on the second page is the actual part from the IB curriculum that describes what the criterion A is and how it's marked just below that. Because I know that IB document is a real monster to go through. So I want to sort of put it all in one place here for you guys, right? And what I wanted to do is give you some advice on this, right? So in this section A, planning, what would be my advice? Well, certainly my advice would be to take a look at some of how other people have done this one, right? And that was something we talked about earlier this week. So I'm just going to do that briefly and then give you some more advice. So say I take this one, example 5. Slow. Documentation. Actually, I'm going to not use example 5. That name triggered something with me that I don't think that would be the best example. Let's go with 8. Slow. Come on, example 8, you can do this. Okay, well, that's slowly loading up. The other thing I was going to say was, and I had this written down, what are you going to write about? Okay, well, what I would do is let's look for key words in what they're looking for. Okay, so I'm just turning on a scribble tool here. Who is the client advisor? So that would be something you want to write about. Okay, why did you choose that client advisor? And why are you making them a product, a program? Product is obviously means program. But in addition to looking through what the IB has written here, I think it's even more important to look through their mark scheme here. So here you can see the word appropriate, identified client, right? If you don't identify a client, that's going to be a problem. That you had evidence that you consulted the client, okay? That you gave a rationale for choosing the product, including a range of appropriate criteria, okay? So those are some key words there. And one nice trick with IB is always mirror their own words back at them, okay? So if you're writing about the scenario, okay, you could say things like, my appropriate scenario that client was. So what you're doing here is you're giving them their words back at them, right? Appropriate and client, you're throwing their words right back at them. So if I'm the marker and I'm going through and figuring out which mark band you go into, I'm seeing my own words here. I'm seeing appropriate. I'm seeing identified, right? I think I mentioned this in class. A good way to also look at these mark schemes is to compare it to the one above, right? So here you see the word stated versus down here, the word described, okay? So obviously, it's going to move from stated to described, right? So if you just state, I had a client and I consulted them, they'd say, well, they just stated this. But if you described how your client, and yes, you can be your own client. We've already talked about that, okay? And again, you can see that sort of here. The rationale for choosing the proposed product is partially explained, okay? Versus down here, it has justified and includes a range of appropriate criteria. So those own words can be thrown back at them. So let's see if this, okay, I'm gonna try to refresh this page because it's just not going anywhere. Okay, so rationale, okay? You're gonna, when your rationale, say that you'll be making a program, obviously, you'll be doing it, and you might not be, but doing it in Java. Why are you doing it in Java? Because this is what 3 years classes trained you in. Something like that, right? So that's justifying it in that way. Oops. Okay. So here is an example of what this student put for their section A. Right? They described the scenario, they gave a rationale, okay, and then they gave these criterion for success. And finally, they gave an approximate word count for that section. Okay, so again, that's what I would be doing here. This second page, again, you want to look for those hot things, right? Like things that are on there. When you're looking at the rationale, read this. So do you have the technical skills? You'd say, yeah, I know how to write code in Java. Is the hardware and software? You could say, oh, Java can work on multiple platforms, etc. Right? Then when you go to success criteria, okay, one thing I've found has been really successful to give that thing called a range of appropriate criteria. What I would suggest for the success criteria would be something like this. At minimum, my solution will, and then give a list of the minimum things that your program would do, right? Like right? Display all entered user, right? And then you could go to a range of typically will, and then you can have another list. Okay. So here you can add another list to what the typical scenario would be. And then maybe criteria at like best case scenario. There's me throwing that word back at them. The solution will, same thing here. I'm going to throw up a sorting feature. Right? So it gives a range of ways you will judge it's successful, right? And that would give you an idea of what you're doing for section A, the planning section. Okay, so then, because it's a Word document, you can just like highlight all the words and get a quick word count down here. Oh, it's about, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate, about 86 words. Okay? Obviously, it'd be probably a little higher, right? Like this one here, you see here, the student had about, the total number of words cannot exceed 2,000. So each of these sections, all added together, gives them a nice way to kind of judge that. Okay, so I'm just going to hit save. What I typed in that Word document is now up on the in the document on the shared drive there. So if you guys want it, it's there. Okay, and now we'll go to the next one, the design document. So the design document really is two parts. It's a design section and a record of tasks. In some of the example IA, students would do these in two separate documents, which you certainly can. But I think it's easier now to just put it all in one document because it all matches up with one set of marking. Let's start with that. Let's go right to the marking. Again, I've included this on the last page of this. So here it is. Okay, so let's start looking for some keywords. Record of tasks and design overview, including a test plan. Okay, so I have to have a test plan in there. Detailed and complete. Okay, so here I'm seeing the difference between partially complete and detailed and complete. That's how they're judging it. Okay, and it says from this information, it's clear how the product was developed. Okay, so test plan, record of tasks, design, that's detailed. Okay, so what are they looking for up here? A chronology, so a history of the events from planning and implementing. Again, you don't want to be too worried with this. Any other issues that might arrive. The design, that's the record of tasks, okay? So let's take a look at how this student did their record of tasks. Okay, they just went through a little sort of point by point here with an approximate date, what they did, little description of it, how it relates to criterion A or B or C. This is this thing called they have a form, but it's really just a Word document that looks like this. That just basically gives you what you did and kind of when. Now, this is one example. You certainly could look at another student's example to get a feel for this as well. So how they did these records of tasks. So we'll go to student 9 here. What did they do? And you can see here, the student did it a completely different way. Just a simple sort of list right here. Okay, it does not have to be anything different than that. Okay, the other part of criterion B, in addition to the record of tasks, is a design overview. This is where little diagrams like Shanae's example of the UML diagram could be nicely fit in here. Okay, this is also where you want to put in that testing plan. And again, that could just be a sentence or two. Your testing plan that you just say, I will be testing, for example, in the little program I showed you, What will happen if the user doesn't put in a name and they click cancel? I'm going to test to make sure that works. Just a little simple thing that you can write up that says, this is how I tested my program. Okay. And again, if you don't include that, that could be something that they could use to justify not giving you those higher mark bands. Okay, so that's what you're looking for with that. And again, take a look at what other people have done. So for this student, their design, okay, they described, again here. Now, a good thing about this part of the written section is it justifies a lot of the high-end code you're using. And that's going to be really important in the next section, because the next section doesn't really cover it that way. So here, just like the video where I suggested, is a chance to show off all the really cool code you did in sort of a descriptive way. And you can see the student wrote quite a bit. They didn't include a word count, which again, I would recommend. So I'm going to jump to another one to see how another student did this one. So let's go way down the list here. Go to 24 here. No, this student put it all in one. Don't do that. Okay. Record of tasks. Okay, so I don't like this student, the way this student did it. Okay. So there's that record of tasks. And oh, here's a nice thing that this student did. She put in a little sketch that she made as part of the design process, and then just some other things here. Okay, I can see Zoom is running me out of time, so we have to, but then included the word count at the end. Okay, so I'm going to speed up the process here. So that's the design section. And then the next section, the development section, this is the part that is worth the most marks. It is worth 12 marks. We've talked about this one lots of times, showing a high level of complexity. What they actually want for this, a list of techniques. So by techniques, they mean code, right? You don't have to, like, they don't care which programming language. So things like searching techniques, a binary search or a linear search or a bubble sort or, you know, an array structure, or that's what they're looking for in this. A way to justify that they can give you 12 marks here. High level of complexity and ingenuity, okay? Also, the video can influence this, right? So that's why I suggest that in the video when they go to do this thing. And again, please take a look at how other students have done this section, okay? Here again, you can see some of that, okay? Different ways that they've listed that sort of, those techniques in there. Included little snippets of their code. If you're going to include snippets of your code, do it like this. Take a picture, and then it doesn't count for your word count. If it's a picture of your code, it doesn't count. Power tip there. Okay. And then finally, the evaluation, essentially a conclusion. Okay. And again, take a look at what they're looking for with that conclusion. I've included it down here. So how to get 6 out of 6. And you can see here, they didn't write up a lot there. But basically, you're supposed to go back to section A and list, like, did you meet the criterion you set out in section A? So you can do a little copy paste over from section A and just say whether or not you did it or not. Here again would be an example of a student, how they did that. See the little check marks? Just basically going through what they did in section A and then the word count. Okay. Finally, there's also a section called appendix. You don't need to do an appendix, but an appendix is a place you can use if you find your word count is getting long, like really long. You can just say, see this section in the appendix, and then it doesn't count for your Word document, because theoretically the appendix doesn't count. So it's a bit of a cheat there. You can also use the appendix for your code if you want, or something like that. Look at the way others have done it. You'll notice this student did not include an appendix, so it's not required, okay? All right, back to this plan. So I'm just gonna finish up with this and then we'll be done. What I would like you guys, when you get to the hand-in now, is there's a folder in our class shared folder called, in the IA document section, called IB Computer Science IA Format. Download that folder. Rename that folder. So rename it to your name, and if you have it, your candidate number. Then all these PDFs, or sorry, all these Word documents, turn them into PDFs. So save them as PDFs, keep the same names, and then put them into the documentation folder inside of this folder. Okay, and again, I can help in the future with that if you'd like. That's just because then it's much easier for me to set it up for the IB. If you end up changing the name, there's some things I got to change. So if you don't, it's okay, but I'd prefer if you just left the names the same. Also, after you've made your video, put it in the other folder and name your video video. Okay, again, same reason, it's easier for me. Put a copy of your NetBeans project folder into the folder called products. So you put a copy of one folder into the other folder, copy that entire folder onto a Google Drive account, and then share it with me. And that's how you can hand in this IA. Okay, we only have a minute or two left on the Zoom time. Do you guys, any of you guys have any questions? You can give me the thumbs up if you feel like everything's good. Should be able to do that in Zoom if you guys, there you go, Darwin. There we go. Looking good, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off, this recording off, and stop the meeting as well. And guys, keep doing what you're doing, okay? Thanks for connecting today. I hope that helped. And if it doesn't, go on the forum. Let's start another meeting. Whatever you guys like, we'll get her done, okay? All right, stay healthy, you guys. See ya.